Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 23rd episode of the Fourward Pass Podcast. We've got myself in Deep Creek, Maryland. We've got Sam Perry in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got Caleb Archer in Buford, Georgia. And we've got Luke Duska in Haverford, PA, right outside Philadelphia. Fellas, how we doing today?
Great.
Good.
Yeah?
Happy to be back.
Yeah, you happy to be back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been too long.
Honestly, usually it's
Been
a
like
week
10,
schedule.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been like a week and a half.
Yeah. So we got to knock the rust off. One thing we did want to mention, we have a new microphone here, Luke Duska, official microphone. We also have a new social media intern on the horizon. Shout out Luke Bowser, social media intern. So you guys are
Shout
gonna
out my brother for buying me a microphone for Christmas.
Jack Duska.
Supporting my future profession.
We love that. Um, Fellas, we're gonna start with a 5-year deal that got signed today. The Michigan coaching vacancy has been filled. Kyle Whittingham of Utah. He is 66 years of age, a wildly successful career at Utah. He was the defensive coordinator there for 10 years, and he was there for the Urban Meyer days. Urban Meyer takes the Florida job, and he ends up being the head coach from 2005 on. He's had an illustrious career. Urban Meyer calls him the best coach in college football. Pretty crazy now because he's coaching at Michigan. And um, for me, I just think the 5-year deal, when it was reported that he was going to take the job, I was like, 5 years would probably be perfect because you give him till he's 71. That seems like the right timeline. And there's no way he runs this thing into the ground. That is like my opinion. There's no way he runs this thing into the ground. Obviously, it matters who they retain on the roster, like Bryce Underwood, number one. And then also the coordinators they hire because he's not a play calling coach. But this guy's a program builder. He knows what he's doing. Very like high floor hire, in my opinion. I have a question for you, Caleb Archer. Are you moved by this hire?
Um, I don't know. I think it's tough. Like when you judge, I think you have to like judge it in the environment that it was like done in, and this was kind of towards the later part of the cycle. So the names they could have gotten were, I think this is one of the best they could get. Um, I did think it was weird whenever Whittingham came out like last week and was like, "Yes, I'm resigning. I'm not retiring. Like I still want to coach." Like you said, he's a program builder. I guess I would say I am a little moved by it, but I think it's kind of uninspiring at the same time. But I don't know, like it's like a new way. I guess it's like a new avenue than them just hiring like Jesse Minter or somebody that's already been at Michigan. But um, there is rumors that he's going to bring his offensive coordinator with him, which I think would be a great get for Michigan because he was the guy I was really high on. He was one of the reasons why I was high on Utah preseason.
The
Is
New
he was the old
Mexico
New
guy, right?
Mexico. He was the old New Mexico one, and they brought him. I don't know how many players they're going to bring from Utah, but I do like that coordinator if they bring him with them. So I think this has potential to be good. I just don't think it has that much potential to be great.
Like in 3 years, could you see Michigan competing for a national championship under Whittingham? To me, I think outside shot, but yes, I can see that.
Yeah, I think it would just be like I could see them being like the 8 through 11 or 12 spot in the playoff. I just don't think that the I think you said like the floor is going to be there. The ceiling is probably not of being like the high end like best team in the country. But that's just my opinion.
Sam, what are you percolating over there? You got any thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, I haven't got the chance to like dig into it, so I'm just kind of seeing what the like overwhelming social media reaction is to this Michigan hire, and it seems like a lot of people are, very happy with it. It seems like it's more of the like college football personalities that work inside the Big Ten and like older people seem to be a lot more excited than some of Michigan's recruits, which could be an issue, but I don't think that Whittingham will have any issue getting guys to Michigan. But I personally think that this is a really solid hire and something that, like Arch just talked about, is a lot more moving than them hiring Jesse Minter or promoting what's his name there, who was their interim coach for a little bit, who
Biff
had interviewed
Poggi.
for the
Yeah.
Bogey.
job. So I think that like maybe Dillingham would have been a more flashy, an exciting hire, but I think this is just as good and very solid for Michigan, who's already at a good spot, and how they've been the last 5 years record wise. And I think that he'll continue to keep it rolling, and we'll see some improvement from Sharon Moore's roster to his roster, and just how Michigan plays the defensive style first, which he should be able to continue to implement over there.
Yeah, Luke, what do you think?
I think it was a good hire as well. The first question that came to my mind when I was thinking about the what it could potentially look like for him is I thought of Brian Kelly at first because when you hire a coach in his mid 60s who I don't know if you guys agree, but I thought that with him saying he was stepping down from Utah at the end of the season, that meant he was just retiring.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like there was a foot out the door and he was ready to be done coaching.
He did get pushed out. Utah wanted him out. So Utah said, "This is your last run." They're
Okay.
hiring. They already hired the defensive coordinator. Like that's the next guy up. So it was more of like your like mutual parting, if not just like them saying like we're done with your tenure.
So that changes things a little bit, but I was just thinking like I was saying, when you hire someone in their mid 60s, like you have to question whether they're going to still be committed to putting the hours in that you need to. That all the reports from Brian Kelly were he just wasn't working that hard towards the end of his run there. And yes, LSU has all these resources that when utilized correctly can make the program one of the best in the country. And if you max out those resources, you're in a really good spot with your program. But if you're not putting the work in, like the other SEC coaches are, like if you're not putting the work that Kirby Smart's putting in, then it doesn't matter how many resources you have, and it's going to be the same exact way in the Big Ten. If you don't put in as much work as Dan Lanning and Ryan Day and Kurt Signetti, who's also in his 60s, so this could be a null point. But if you're not putting in as much work as them, then it's not going to matter. And that I think I think it's fair to question whether a coach that age is willing to do that. And then if they are, then this is a slam dunk because Kyle Whittingham has proved over the 22 years he's been at Utah that he can succeed and build a program, and their Michigan could be in a really good spot with him being there for like a 5-year tenure and him build the program up and hand it off to someone that's gonna be there for the long term. But I think I do you guys agree I think it's fair to at least question a coach that age,
Yeah.
and he can, I mean, all the actions that he does from now on will answer the questions. But
Yep.
that's just where my mind
The one thing
went
I
right
think
away.
about, like obviously none of us know either of these people. We're our opinions on them are on the basis of what like we've heard from other people around the sport, and like what you hear about Brian Kelly through whether it's scandal or people dying or other former players, like he doesn't seem as high of a character guy as Kyle Whittingham. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that have bad things to say about Kyle Whittingham. The coaches he's worked with, like if you ever like go watch Urban Meyer talk about Kyle Whittingham and like how much respect he has for that guy. So I just think Whittingham might be a higher character person, and again, that's right because none of us know either of the two candidates or the two coaches, but from everything you've seen, the fact that Whittingham stayed at Utah for 22 years when he's obviously been good enough to go elsewhere, especially when the Pac-12 was a thing. Like, Utah he was in the Mountain West for a while, so this wasn't a Power Five program until what was it, 2015 when they moved from the Mountain West to
I
the
think it was a little
Pac-12.
earlier than that.
Was it that?
Yeah, I was looking earlier. It was 2011.
Okay, 2011. So his first 7 years or first 6 years coaching were, at a
But
G5.
they were the number 2 AP ranked finisher in 2008 when they went 13-0 and
Yeah.
won the Sugar Bowl. Like when they were in the Mountain West, they were still
No, they
national
were
powerhouse.
no doubt. But like just
Yeah.
like how Chris Peterson could have left Boise State and stayed there for a while before taking the Washington job, like the Chris Peterson, I feel like Whittingham is in that type of coaching like bubble where it's like, dude, high character guys, program builders. He also played at BYU linebacker, so um, I just think I'm going to give Whittingham the benefit of the doubt of not comparing him to Kelly, although I do think it's a super fair thing. But yeah, he's obviously going to prove what like with his actions. I do think the coordinator hires are going to be huge. So, like if Art said, if he brings a guy from Utah, I do like that. But also, he's got to hire a defensive coordinator, and I think there might be. I don't think it'd be that bad if he brings in like a Michigan guy into that role, like somebody who's been around the program, like a Harbaugh type of guy. We'll see what he does with that. But obviously, they figured out defense pretty well out in Michigan. But anybody else have anything more to say on the Whittingham topic? All right.
Good hire.
Yeah, we like it. We like it so far. And um, in
And
5 years,
we were also just one more thing. We were saying we wanted Michigan to swing for the fences and bring in someone that would kind of inspire you, and that you'd be like, whoa, that's a big move by them. I think this is like halfway to doing that. It's not necessarily like Sam was saying earlier, it's not like you're promoting within and it's not that exciting. And it's not like you went out and poached a Kalen DeBoer,
Dillingham, yeah.
but Kyle Whittingham is a pretty good consolation prize. And it's like
And
halfway to
we
a
never
big,
mentioned his name when we
yeah.
first started talking about this job opening. So it is like, oh, okay.
I still think Clark Lee was the best fit. I wish that would have happened.
Well, there's another. At some point, he's going to retire.
Maybe 5 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to move on to. Oh, you got it, Sam. No, we're not going to move
I
on.
was just gonna seem like it didn't seem like Clark Lee's name was even mentioned much at all in their coaching search.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I mean it should have been if they were.
If it was you.
Yeah.
I wonder how locked into Vanderbilt he was, though. I mean, he is an alumni. It's like the Jeff Brom thing. Jeff
Yeah,
Brom's been really tough to get out
100%.
of Louisville.
Yeah.
With that being said, we're going to move on to a playoff game that happened last week on Friday. This was Oklahoma, Alabama. Norman, Oklahoma was rocking. Shout out Norman, Oklahoma. And we got Oklahoma jumping up to a 17-point lead, and then their all SEC punter dropping a punt. Block punt turns into points. A Mateer pick six that tied the game up at 17. We saw a tale of two Bamas. We saw that in the first beginning of the game, we saw the Bama that of recent where they struggled against Georgia, and their offense kind of looks a little bit of like a shell of what it did. But then also we have the second half, or I guess not the second half, the second version of Bama, which is the team that beat Vanderbilt, the team that beat Tennessee, the team that beat Georgia, and Missouri, all back to back to back to back. Those 4 weeks stretch is a super impressive thing that Alabama did earlier in this year. And we saw that kind of come to fruition. I want to get your early thoughts on Ty Simpson, Kalen DeBoer, Grubb, Latsier Brooks. There were some really big plays. Like that one play that Latsier Brooks scored, Kirk Herbstreit kept talking about it, like in the game and after the game. That was like a huge moment. 4th and 2, you need it bad. Latsier Brooks catches a good just spot route over or right underneath the corner, and then breaks like 4 tackles, dives into the end zone, and that kind of gave Alabama some juice. And then we saw the Bama of old come back to play. So, just your thoughts on this game, guys.
Yeah, I thought this was good. Like you said, it was kind of funny the polar opposites of Alabama that we've seen. Like the first half, first quarter rather, unprepared, and then the second, third, and fourth quarter just like suffocating Oklahoma as the game went on. I thought it was interesting that Oklahoma had these like special team edges, like their Tate Sandlin, I believe, is their kicker that was really good in the end of the game with 2 misses from him. I'm not saying those are his fault because I believe the second one was like a 50-something yarder. Like that's not a guarantee, but I think kind of going towards the Oklahoma thing, I think this is a good standpoint or a good game to show you where you stand with John Mateer. Because I think that I'm not blaming that pick six on him because that was a clear like miscommunication between like a receiver and a quarterback.
Well,
but
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay.
Well, because you go, keep going.
Well, I was just gonna say like people will paint that all on him. I'm not. I'm more focused on his down play, his passing, his mechanics. Like very sloppy. There was throws that he missed throughout the day where he would. There was one in particular where he had a clean pocket and he drops his arm and does a sidearm release for like no reason and just like sails it by the receiver. And it's like plays like that I don't think that like I just could never take it seriously whenever national media members were saying this guy was the best quarterback in the country. Like it just didn't make sense because you saw highlights, you didn't see full games. And like I think this game was a perfect encapsulation of the highs and lows of him. Like he'd make good plays. The one I will say that on that third down play that kind of changed the game, I don't know why he didn't. I get the guy he threw, it could have been I understand that. I still like a quarterback in a situation like that is going to know what they need. That's just my opinion. Like it was like 3rd and 3.
Like they
He
were
probably
begging for a first down.
He could have
I was
ran
saying
it
the
for
same
25
exact
easy
thing.
yards, and then
Didn't
people are going to
run
say
that.
that the receiver dropped it. But like, I think that's more so like it's not as egregious as a drop as people are making it seem because of how like I don't know. I just feel like it's like there's plays like that you just can't.
Yeah,
You have to like
I'd
hold weight against Mattia.
and that's the thing about like me and my dad and Sam are as sensies watching this game. My dad is like, "How do you throw that ball?" Like the pick six was to Xavier Brown, like egregious. And this is why it's egregious because obviously he thinks the receiver's running a hitch route. But as a receiver, you're taught to whenever it's a hard corner, so a cover two corner who's obviously playing the flat, instead of running the hitch route, you convert the route to a go route and you release on his outside shoulder so that it pulls the half field safety towards the sideline. So you're not either you're going to throw the whole shot, but most of the time you're just pulling an extra defender to the other side of the field so that Mateer can read the opposite side with less eyes on him, right? So like that's an egregious quarterback mistake because he basically said, I'm throwing this football no matter what. And like, dude, hard cover two corner. You cannot throw that football. Like you're not allowed, like whatever. So but that's the type of thing that's like you're saying, Arch, that's what makes me upset with Mateer because it feels like a lot of backyard football. The footwork's bad. He still has the jump passes that he does where like clean pocket, he just jumps and fires it. And so now, the one thing about Oklahoma, like this year looked more like the 2023 Dylan Gabriel year than it did the Jackson Arnold year. So, like, I do think they're back on track, but they do have to have a real conversation about John Mateer. I think it's a similar one you have with Marcel Reed at Texas A&M.
I think Mateer is a net positive for Oklahoma.
No doubt.
Yes, inexcusable pick probably is the biggest reason they lost the game, but a bunch of other egregious mistakes on Oklahoma's behalf. The punter dropping the snap that led to 3 points. A lot of stuff that is out of Mateer's control. And for the most part, with the threat that he adds with his legs and some of the heroic throws that he made in the game, like we were talking about, that was going to be a big part of it. They were going to be in some third and long situations, and can Mateer make a play when he needs to? I think there was one throw he had to Deion Burks on the sideline that they were saying was out initially, but it was an insane throw on the run and a great catch by Burks. And I think plays like that are why Mateer is a net positive, but certainly you can get into situations like this where you just have one of the worst interceptions of the entire season. But I think,
but even with that, Duska, you go.
I was just going to say, I think that's less on Mateer and more on the Alabama defense. One, being able to stop the run, that's the biggest thing. I think you're asking a lot out of a quarterback, any quarterback in college football, to produce at a high level when there's not really any type of run game to back them up. And when there is a run game, 90% of the time it's coming from that quarterback. It's him in design QB run situations where you saw him score on a QB counter, and then they had another red zone play off of that QB counter where he faked the run and threw a touchdown pass. Like that's the type of versatility that he adds. And you're not getting anything from your actual tailbacks, and the offensive line isn't really good enough to protect and put him in the best position to win the game. I think it's unfair to take a step back and be like, all right, Oklahoma's in a bad spot because Mateer is adding a ceiling to the team. I think the best teams in college football, the surrounding pieces are doing enough that they're putting their quarterback in a better position, like Fernando Mendoza, like saying all of those guys are being put in a good position. Even Ty Simpson had to overcome a lot this game. Like he looked really uncomfortable for the first half at least. And it was almost like he was making plays despite his discomfort. And there was one replay, it was before the first Lottie Brooks touchdown where it was showing his eyes and he was like super frantic in the pocket, looked super uncomfortable. And he had to overcome a lot of O-line issues as well. And I think that just both QBs they're both in tough spots with how their offenses are constructed and what they're being asked to do because of some of the limitations they have.
Yeah. And like operating as a quarterback without a running back run game is almost impossible. And like you said, I was going to bring up those two plays too. Like, I mean, dude, the quarterback run is obviously was really effective early. But you have to be selective as an offensive coordinator using quarterback run. Like, dude, you can't kill him. Like a perfect example is Riley Leonard against Ohio State, the first drive of the national championship game. You QB run him 9 times. He's dead on the sideline. And like, you can't really go back to that the rest of the game, right? That's just untenable. And I do like what you said. Like, dude, with his legs, that opens up a lot, right? The QB counter they score on where he makes a guy miss is super athletic. And then they run QB counter RPO, literally put the nickel in a bind, Satania, walk-in touchdown. Easy, right? Laugher. But another thing, I think Mateer played well enough to win, honestly. I mean, egregious mistakes, but you got to expect a couple bad decisions every game from Mateer. Dude, I give so much credit to the Alabama defense because, dude, they play to its strengths. Like, they were like, okay, we're going to try to stop the run. And we are going to do our very best to make Mateer beat us through the air time and time and time again. And at some point, like that's not his game. Like again, he's a college quarterback, which is not bad. That's not bad at all. Like you can win with college quarterbacks. We've seen it happen all the time. But I just think Alabama's defense is what really like impresses me. Obviously, you've got Zabian Brown, who at corner, he's made 2 huge pick sixes. You've got Bray Hubbard in the secondary. Dude, they're Lawson and Justin Jefferson, Jetta's defense, as I call them. Dude, they're awesome at linebacker. Yanze Pierre gives you a lot of juice. Dude, again, this is just I
mean,
really like
they had
this defense.
they had 5 sacks in this game, and one of them was from just a one-on-one pass rush. It was Yanze Pierre, one of his sacks, but other than that, it was all schemed up and players on that front seven just making plays.
Yeah, 100%. Sam, I want to get your thoughts.
Dude, also like we kind of talked about this early on with this game as well as the Miami A&M game and how there's going to be a couple little things that, you know, drive this overall result. And like looking back to the first Bama Oklahoma game, like what had to go right for Oklahoma to win that game was big punt return, couple pick sixes, and just kind of having every ball bounce your way. Now, flash forward to this game Friday, Bama goes +2 on field goals. Their kicker, who's 13 for 20, Connor Talty on the season field goals, goes 2 for 2. And then Tate Sandell, who we have talked about a lot being such a weapon for Oklahoma, goes 0 for 2. So that's -6. And then you have that egregious punt earlier in the game that when Bama started to roll. So now Bama now has 3 special teams wins, and that's kind of where you find that 10-point difference in the final score. Granted, like Arch said, that field goal at the end isn't really on him, but even when Bama doesn't have their best for 30-ish minutes of this game, they still find a way to win. And like going forward now, like maybe was this the monkey off their back? Like finally, like we started feeling something. Like, are they going to start to roll? Is all this talent going to start coming together like we saw with Ohio State last season when they really sputtered at the end of the year, but then started to find their groove in the latter half of that Tennessee playoff game. So like really something to keep an eye on. Like if I'm Indiana, like I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit more nervous than I would be earlier in how Bama's looked. And yeah, just a great game overall. That awesome catch, Charlie. I know you have in the doc. We talked about this by Jeremy Bernard in the. I want to say that was the third quarter. Where he just completely mosses the guy in a really pivotal first down. So, and then to talk about Oklahoma a little bit, like I agree with what Duska says on how they're a net positive. Like also you have to look back, like this is a 6-6 team last year. And in year one of the Mateer Arbuckle experience, like they go 10-2. Their defense has been a lot better. They answered a lot of questions with Venable's job security and kind of calmed the nerves and uneasiness around Oklahoma football after how they looked last season. So, like, regardless of the outcome of this game, like, I really look at this season as a really successful year for Oklahoma. And they now have identified like where they need to improve in the offseason. Like they need to establish a run game, which I think they thought they were going to have with Ott, and that never really panned out. So that's definitely going to be the focus is getting a run game to make this offense multidimensional. And then with Venables, you're going to have a really good defense. So I think this game really highlights how they need to attack the offseason, but overall, a successful season for Oklahoma, in my opinion.
Dude, we were just about to, I was just about to move the conversation there. I think you hit all the nails on the head. I think we're going to have the same, people are going to ask the same thing about Marcel Reed and John Mateer, which is like, is this the quarterback of the future for both teams? And my answer for both of them is yes. Dude, it's important to have multi-year starters, the leadership, their playmakers. Again, this is just decision making. Like this is coaching, development. This is what your job is as a college football player and a college football coach, is just to get better at these little things. So, I think, again, huge step in the right direction. Ben Arbuckle was a sight to behold compared to what we saw last year in the offense. So, again,
I mean, if you look at the 4 big wins they had this year and think about how inconsistent their offense was and how bad they looked at times, I think that the absolute success of a year, no matter how you look at them blowing this lead and what could have been with them potentially holding on and winning this game. They beat Michigan, Tennessee, Alabama, and Missouri. They played one of the hardest schedules in the country and went 10-2. So I think just net positive overall success for them this year. And yeah, the Mateer is definitely bringing Mateer back with the potential he does have. And there's so many things you see in his game that he can fix. And one off season where you just look at the film and identify those things and then work on that. The potential's there that he could be a star.
he's an
next year.
elite playmaker.
Yeah, already.
Yep. And
With
they have
like how unrefined he is. Yeah.
And they have an elite head coach, in my opinion. I think Brent Venables is one of the best in the game, and he speaks defense better than almost any. Dude, him, Kirby, Lanning. Short list of the best defensive coaches in college football. Whittingham, probably you throw in there, and so I think they're going in the right direction. Okay. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our Oklahoma Bama discussion. We'll talk Bama more throughout the next couple of podcasts, but that's really it for Oklahoma. Congrats on the season, fellas. Although it's a tough way to end it. And with that, editor, here's your endpoint.
Also, wait, hold on. The 50 Cent performance that shouldn't have happened. It looked flat on TV. I don't know how it looked in person, but he had no juice. I don't know if you guys agree.
Didn't catch it.
Okay. Nah, I mean, it was like coming out of a commercial. They showed it, but
like worked in the reverse. Fired Bama after the game. So yeah, that was lit.
Sam, we were in your basement for that. How did we miss that?
No, we weren't for the Bama game.
Oh yeah, you're saying Bama. Yep, never mind. Are we good there?
I thought it was cool.
Oh, you liked it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
a little disagreement.
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay. All right, here's your endpoint. Miami, Texas A&M, College Station, 11 a.m. kick. Absolute rock fight. The one thing I wanted to point out is, dude, this is a insane roster composition from an ACC school, because this is an SEC talent-laden roster that is placed in one of the richest recruiting areas in the country, and their roster is amazing. And they just suffocated Texas A&M, just suffocated them. There was just, especially once they crossed the 50, it was like that one meme where it's a guy playing video games leaning back in the chair, and then the guy playing video games leaning up forward. Like, dude, when they crossed the 50-yard line, the violence, the physicality, how hard it was for just Texas A&M to gain any yards. Another thing I thought was very important for Miami was how good they were tackling in space. I put a lot of clips on the doc of them tackling in space, because, dude, there's a lot of times when Marcel Reed looks like he's about to get loose, and then like it's an 8-yard gain, and like he has to slide or they make a big tackle, like, and those are huge because you're making them snap the ball without an explosive, or maybe it's 1st and 15 after a holding penalty or a false start, and so then instead of it being a 20-yard explosive, like, dude, they make a huge tackle. It's only an 8-yard gain. Now it's second down and 8. And then they end up forcing a punt or forcing a missed field goal, right? So, like, dude, making those critical tackles, they didn't let Mario Craver got loose for one of those big balls, but dude, Concepcion really struggled. Like, they weren't making a lot of guys miss. And dude, the tackling deployed by Miami was awesome. So that's really what I have to say. Like, dude, Keontae Scott being back was huge. Keontae Scott had 10 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 sacks. He's a nickel. So, like, dude, he's coming off the edge, sacking the quarterback. And then, dude, Jacoby Thomas, their other safety, 9 tackles. So, dude, the DBs might be the best in the country. And I was just super impressed with Miami's defense and how they flew around, because their offense that's not going to get it done as they play Ohio State.
Yeah, I enjoyed this game. I know it was not high scoring, and like you're saying, it was a rock fight, but I think it was a really fun trenches game and a really fun defensive showcase by both teams. First thing, the Miami pass rush was unbelievable, especially Akeem Mesidor. I know Ruben Bain ended with 3 sacks, but at least 2 of them were set up by Mesidor, and he was giving so Texas A&M starting right tackle went out of the game at some point in the third quarter, and their backup, number 76, I think his name's like Feathery or something like that. And Ruben Bain or Akeem Mesidor had like 5 pass rush reps against him in a row and beat him like every single time like a drum. And set up a couple sacks for Bain. I think he had a sack and a half himself. He might be I know we've talked about Ruben Bain a lot this year and how good he is, but I think Mesidor is the more pure pass rusher. Ruben Bain is kind of just, I'm going to use my physical traits against you. I don't have that much in my bag, but I'm just so much physically better than you that I'm going to win these reps. Mesidor has a little shake and bake to him. He's got a little more pass rush ability than Ruben Bain, and it just comes out naturally. And he was just awesome. And then the other side of the Miami trenches, their offensive line was amazing in this game. Mark Fletcher was really, really good.
Dan
17 carries for 172 yards. That's like 10 yards a carry. And a lot of it was just duo, split zone, insert zone. They were just running right at him, downhill runs, and Fletcher was getting loose, they were resetting the line of scrimmage every play, and then Fletcher was just finding a hole, and he was taking advantage of all the vulnerabilities of that A&M rushing defense, and it was just really, really good to see. And then I know we're going to talk about the quarterbacks coming up here. The way we talked about John Mateer in the last segment, I would completely flip that on its head here and say Marcel Reed is the type of quarterback that bringing him back could be a potential trap for a team like this. We saw it all year. There's a fallacy to returning production, and I think that Marcel Reed is the type of quarterback where you could potentially fall into a trap like that. And I know we're going to talk about it coming up in a second, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think. But my initial impression was just, if this team was without Marcel Reed, they would be I think they would be better off, and think they should potentially consider moving in a different direction next year. I'd be interested to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. How much better are you going to get?
I think a quarterback that's a lot less mistake prone, a lot better.
I think there's 5 quarterbacks in this portal right now that I think could do better. I also think that it's going to be tough for them with them next year for Texas A&M adjusting to no Colin Klein. And they promoted their receivers coach who's never called plays before. So, that's going to be something that's going to be hard for a quarterback, which is why I would not want Reed to have to go through that, because I think a system with Reed is going to have to be the most, when you saw he had the most success, I would say it was short passes. It was quick game stuff to Craver and Concepcion. I just think A&M's roster as a whole is too talented to have a game like that where it was clear that your quarterback was the worst person on the field. In my opinion, I think Reed played he was good on third and fourth downs at the beginning, like escaping, getting some scrambles, and like Chuck mentioned, Miami was really good at tackling him, but he would get those first downs.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a glaring like weak point in the offense. I think they struggled to run the football at times, but I just think that a team that has as much talent as A&M does, like losing a game because your quarterback can't produce, like it's not the only reason why, but it's the main reason why, in my opinion. So I think, like I said, I think you could like to name quarterbacks in the portal that I think could do better. I think that Hoover, the TCU guy, I think Mestamaker, at times I think be better, and there's probably a few more that are Lagway especially. I just think that there's a lot of room
Rocco
for them to
Becht.
get. I think they're kind of the same to me. I don't know, but I just think there's a lot more upward mobility. Old Dominion's quarterback Colton Joseph, I would put over Marcel Reed. I think as a pure thrower. So,
do you guys know? Besides Marcel Reed, do you know how many yards their leading rusher had in this game?
20.
21. And so why does John Mateer get the get out of jail free card for not having a run game, but then Texas A&M cannot run the football, and we're like, what is like Marcel Reed is obviously the worst player on this team. I just disagree with that premise. I think like, dude, we've seen Marcel Reed play good football. He's an explosive quarterback where a lot of his production is just deep balls. He just the rock flies out of his hands. So I don't even think he played like, dude, he was late on the pick. He threw the first pick, 3rd and 17, forced that, and bad pick. Second one, he saw it correctly and was like a little bit late. And dude, again, we're asking him to do something that's not his game. We're asking him to just draw back and throw the ball like time after time after time. And mind you, dude, he's his eyes, if you're a quarterback and like you're getting that much heat in your face, like your eyes just aren't where they're supposed to be all the time. Like, dude, you're glancing at the rush, like it's uncomfortable as hell back there. So, dude, I think the team failed him before he failed the team. And dude, this is a team that went 11-1 and was undefeated going into a Texas game where they lost. Dude, is it that broken? Because I don't know. I just think we saw Josh Hoover playing the Big 12, and like, dude, he lit it up in the Big 12. But if you threw him in this Miami game, like, is the result any different? If you throw Rocco Becht in this Miami game, is the result any different? I saw Rocco Becht in Ireland. Kansas State made him look like freaking Kenny Pickett and for the Steelers. So like, I don't know. I just don't know if like, dude, this is Marcel Reed's second year starting. We would have year 3 under Marcel Reed. I know Colin Klein's leaving, but I don't know. I think pushing Marcel Reed out the door, pushing your captain, your leader, when obviously I'm sure the team's pretty bought into him.
I think logistically it's tough. I don't think they're going to move on. I'm just logistically, it doesn't really make sense. I don't know if there's enough options in the portal for them to do that, but I think there's just a limitation there's a ceiling on your team when he's the quarterback, and there's the possibility of mistakes like that are always on the table. And
wait, who made worse mistakes though? Who made worse mistakes? Is the Mateer pick more egregious, or is the Marcel Reed pick more egregious?
Picks.
My thing is that with the playmaking a difference. I think Mateer's like playmaking ability is higher than Reed's at times, and I don't think that like that Mateer is the set day one like engraved starter for Oklahoma next year either, in my opinion. Like should be. I mean, that's why I'm thinking both of them. Same thing with Reed. A&M had a really easy schedule this year, like conference schedule. They avoided a lot of the top like teams, but it's kind of the same thing that I guess we'll get into when we talk about the Indiana. Like when you compare stats compared to who they played, like the teams they played that had this certain record and the teams they played like they had this record, like this good of team. If you watch Marcel Reed's tape versus UTSA in week 1, like you can show me that all you want. And like my thing is I'll show you against Miami. I'll show you against Texas. I'll show him looking like first half against South Carolina. I'll show like those. My whole thing, like Luke said, Marcel Reed is going to be great versus the bottom half of the SEC, your G5 teams. He's going to look like an all-star. When you need him on 3rd and 5 on 3rd and goal with 20 seconds left versus Miami, is he going to be able to throw it on time? And that's my pushback, is I just don't think the ceiling is there with him.
I want to back up my point as well. first of all, I think there's a big difference between turning the ball over 3 times and then throwing a pick six where you've already put up 17 points. And the turnover potential from Marcel Reed, we always thought this season, the way the A&M season could end prematurely was a Marcel Reed disaster game where they turned the ball over a bunch. And that's exactly what happened. I think the potential for that to happen is there. And then, like Arch was saying, the potential for him to make for a John Mateer big play on like a 3rd and 13. Like think about the throw to the Deion Burks touchdown. That was a really good throw John Mateer made. I didn't watch every Texas A&M game this year, but I don't think Marcel Reed is as capable of coming up with plays like that in those big moments as John Mateers. I think there's a big difference in the playmaking potential of both of them, and Reed is more mistake prone than Mateer.
Listen, I grant you guys all of that, but I have 2 points. One about the other quarterback in that game, which, like, dude, Carson Beck threw for 100 yards. His running game was lighting it up all day. Which quarterback had the easier time? Like, dude, Marcel Reed still threw for 240. It wasn't like he had to throw the ball 40 times. He threw the ball 20 more times than Carson Beck. Like, dude, that's not what the game plan should be. Like with Marcel Reed, like we shouldn't be asking him to drop back 40 times. Like, you know, dude, no run game. That's my only point for that game. The next point is this. And again, I'm not like the biggest Marcel Reed guy. I don't think he's going to be that good of a pro. Like, but I do like him at Texas A&M, and I think they should keep him. And one of the reasons why is if Marcel Reed just stays put, like he doesn't enter the portal, and he's like, I'm here. You can recruit whoever you want. I don't know if a lot of guys are going to touch that job because other quarterbacks are going to see like they know Marcel Reed, they know ball. They're going to be like, I don't know if I beat him out. Honestly, I don't know if I beat him out. And so, like, if he just stays put, like, all right, bring in a guy. We'll see. All right, bring in a guy. That's it. If I was Marcel Reed, I would do that because I think I've seen enough from him to be like, dude, one more year of development, like, dude, I could be really good. I could be really, really good.
Yeah, I agree with you, Charlie. I just don't know if I would see A&M bringing in a quarterback unless there was a conversation they had with Mateer or with Marcel Reed saying like, "Hey, we want to bring someone else in to compete with you." Which I just think that blowing it up at the quarterback position after you have the most successful season that you've had
Since
in a
2012, Johnny
decade,
Manziel was the last
yeah,
time
in
they
a
did that.
decade does not warrant a new offensive, like a new quarterback, in my opinion. And that's what I think is going to happen.
To be fair to the audience, I do seem fired up about this, but Duska and Archer are bringing up very valid points. Like, dude, this guy, his completion percentage is in the low 60s, like 61%. I think it picked up to 62. Like, that's not great for a college quarterback. Like, the consistency needs to improve. I just am saying I believe in year 3 starter with the pop he's got athletically and the arm he's got.
Well, I have a question. So if let's reverse the roles of the quarterbacks in this game. If Carson Beck, high completion percentage, a lot of college football experience, we've seen the potential he has and what he can do passing the football. And when he's making good decisions, how easily he can complete passes consistently. Put him on Texas A&M in this game and put Marcel Reed on Miami. Do you think the outcome is changing at all?
Yeah, well, I'm going to answer the
Because
question like a
because
little
do you
bit
have
sideways.
is there more opportunity on offense for you to call plays where you need your quarterback to make a read and complete a pass? Is there more opportunity with a quarterback like Carson Beck who completes a lot of passes than there is with Marcel Reed in your offense when you know he has limitations in that area and there's specific things you can't do with him because you know there's potential outcomes of him throwing picks like that. And I
Okay.
know Beck, when he turns the ball over, he does it a lot, but there's also really efficient games that he's played where he has really high completion percentage and plays really well.
Well, let's ask the coaching staffs. The Miami coaching staff said, let's take this game, let's take the ball completely out of Carson's Beck game. Like, we don't even want to see what happens if we do give him the ball. Well, this is what we're going to do. And we saw Texas A&M say, Marcel Reed, save us. Marcel Reed, save us. So, like, dude, the 2 different coaching staffs having 2 different opinions of their quarterback. And like I said, that might have been just a game script type of thing, but that we've kind of seen this a little bit with like Carson Beck. Like they just coaching staffs just take the ball out of his hands when they just don't trust him. But Texas A&M said like, all right, like we're right, like we're rolling with your right arm.
I mean, when your running back is averaging 10 yards a carry, like if Matt Stafford was the quarterback in Miami, I would have taken the ball out of his hands too. Like that,
Yeah.
I
But
don't necessarily.
if you put Marcel Reed in that game, like
Or
dude,
Matt Ryan. Sorry, Arch.
Respect.
if you put Marcel Reed on the Miami, they probably just do the same shit. Like that's what happens when you run the football or you run the piss out of the football.
My
And
Yeah,
what the
but
heck?
my question is more:
yeah,
is there more offensive potential for Texas A&M if Carson Beck's the quarterback?
No. Especially because he's literally a statue back there. So like, dude, the edge rushers are just they might have had 10 sacks.
Fair.
I don't know, but I think this is going to be one that we agree to disagree because, like, I do understand what you're saying, Chuck. Like, blowing it up, like you and Sam made good points. Blowing it up, but like could be bad. I just feel like it would be a disservice to the rest of your team to just be completely satisfied with that performance for Reed and to say and bank on a year 3 development.
I might,
It's like we talked about, returning production isn't always good production. So,
dude, if I'm Texas A&M, I might do. What if we agree on this? What if we instead of taking like the top portal name, like we get like Texas A&M sneaky brings like the ODU quarterback in or the Fair
yeah,
State
bring
quarterback
Colton
in.
Joseph. Bring
Yeah,
Colton
like dude,
Joseph.
bring like a FCS G5 D2 quarterback in. It's just like, oh yeah, he's here, like blah blah blah, and then like Austin Simmons happens, and all of a sudden you insert, like you know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's the play. Like let's not.
Yeah,
I
but
think
why
that I
would
think
someone
that's
let's
the
not
do?
be
play
Why would someone
completely
go to
under.
A&M?
What up?
Like, why would you go to A&M?
Because
because
Old
a G
Dominion can't pay
quarterback
you
would get
any
like
of
$1
that
million
money.
and they
I
would.
guess A&M could,
Yeah.
but then he's never gonna. I don't know.
Well, if you go get a junior, then he literally he'll play. He'll start the next year.
You
Would
get a
Like,
younger
would
guy.
would you take Sagapulatelli at A&M over Marcel Reed?
why? Well, dude, you can't tell. Well, here's the
I'm
thing.
just the hypothetical. Like,
No,
say
but
that it could happen.
I just love Polynesian lefties, so obviously. I take Sagapulatelli over a lot of guys, though. So, like, that's not saying much.
Okay. Yeah, I would too, but just a thought experiment.
Yeah. But you don't have access to Sagapulatelli. You have access to Josh Hoover.
Would you
Okay.
would you take Sam Levitt?
Yeah, I would. I would take Sam
Could
Levitt.
they go get a Sam Levitt potentially?
Dude, the thing about Sam Levitt, though, is like if Marcel Reed is literally like, I'm staying put, like Sam Levitt's probably just like, I got better options.
Everybody's got a
That's a
price.
good thing. They're like the same thing to me.
Okay, dude, Levitt's a little bit more white version. Also, I think Levitt's a little better just at not turning the ball over.
Yeah. I just think they're like the same archetype, I guess. Like,
Yes.
Would you take John Mateer at A&M over Marcel Reed?
No.
No,
I would.
I think I would. I think I could go to sleep at night with either of them and like not sweat over not having the other one.
Okay. Here's a good
I
one.
kind of agree with
Dude,
that, Arch.
Lagway or Marcel Reed next year?
Lagway. Don't even Lagway. Lagway.
I would say
There-
Lagway. But dude, I
There's
don't think
no way Marcel Reed is better than Lagway.
there's a way.
I don't.
I don't know.
that's a big project.
I
That
just
is a
think
project.
I
That's
just
a
think
big
5
question mark to have
interceptions
when you have
when I hear
those.
Lagway.
I'm a huge Lagway guy, though. I will say I'm a Lagway. I'm a believer in Lagway.
I think in the right situation, Lagway is going to be good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted about that one.
This is a great thought experiment, though, because this is what coaches have to do.
Drew Stevenmaker or Marcel Reed?
Dude, like Marshall Reed, like no, like dude, proof of performance. No, Arch, no way. Don't
Dude,
even.
I think they're just like the same.
I just want to
thing.
get an egregious name that Arch says yes to. I'm racking my brain.
I have all the portal quarterbacks. I would take Reed over Sorsby.
Rayola?
I would take Reed.
I would take Rayola over Reed.
I think Rayola in this offense could be really good, but I don't want to deal with his antics. And that's just not even performance based at all. But
I don't know if I would take Rayola.
Rayola has to fulfill the Texas college quarterback prophecy before he can actually evolve into full Mahomes.
no.
Dude, but here's the thing: if you're Texas A&M, the coaching staff is going to have this exact conversation. But then you see and you're like, all right, we were 11-1, defense was pretty good, and in our biggest games, we really struggled to run the football. Is the problem Marcel Reed or is the problem our inability to run the football? And the coaching staff probably looks and says, probably our inability to run the football. And then we try to figure that out, and maybe we go get the ODU quarterback and be like, hey, we'll give you $1 million. You'll be the backup next year. You'll compete for the starting job. And if he gets hurt, you're in.
I just think that,
I think that's the best plan.
There's just been games where A&M has been able to run the football, and I don't know.
And they win.
I think the one game's, yeah, you're right. That's true. It's tough. It's tough because they were very successful, and there is a lot of big play potential with Reed.
And dude, it's a 2-to-1 interception TD to interception ratio. Like, he's thrown. I mean, that's solid. You'll take that. You throw 26 touchdowns in a year, and you rush for 10, or you had, I think, 10 plus. So, you responsible for 30 some TDs and maybe 35, and you only throw 12 picks, 2 of them being the last game of the year. Like, I mean, throw for over 3,000 yards, rush for over 500. There's not a lot of guys that do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Well, I'm glad we had that. That was a great segment. I had fun doing that. But we still have some more stuff to get to because there's playoff games being played on New Year's and New Year's Day. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Did you guys hear about that? They're playing football games?
Rumor has it.
Yeah. Well,
it is the infinite season, isn't it?
They're all the corporate they're all in corporate stadiums, but so we're
except the Rose Bowl.
We're out of college. Oh, exactly. Good. Thank you for correcting me. Okay. We're going to start here. We're going to start Ohio State, Miami. We just had a good Miami talk. I believe they're 9.5-point favorites. Ohio State is. Is that still correct, Caleb Archer?
I believe so.
I believe you are.
I looked today. It's 9.5 still.
It's 9.5. Okay. So Wednesday, December 31st, they're going to play this game at 7:30. Okay. One thing I want to mention before we get into this game, because I do think the awards matter, and the Thorpe Award got announced this week, and the Thorpe Award winner is none other than Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. So let's give him a little round of applause there. So I remember fellow podcaster. I actually have a little bit of history with Caleb Downs because me and Arch were living in Crest sophomore year at Elon, and the Buford Wolves on October 14th, 2022 played Mill Creek, which was the school Caleb Downs went to. And I'm watching this game that was being played on the television, and I was like, oh, this kid might be the best football player I've ever seen in high school. Like, who is this kid? And Caleb was like, oh, this is Caleb Downs. His brother's Josh Downs at UNC. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Josh Downs is a manimal. Love watching that guy play. And so I've been following like Caleb for a while now, and dude, he is unbelievable. His ability to tackle in space is fabulous. He's so physical, and he is one of the most fluid athletes you've ever seen. And he's just got like that. Him and his brother have that thing where, like, dude, they have like the duck feet, not the duck feet. Like, it's not bow leg. It's when your feet are like a little bit in. What's that called?
I think that is bow leg.
No, bow leg is like when you're like out. Like, anyway, your feet. No, not webbed feet, dude.
Pigeon-toed.
Yeah, pigeon-toed. Yeah.
Dude, they're both a little pigeon-toed, and they've just got like extreme athleticism.
Bow leg just when your legs like.
That's Cam Newton's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pitbull.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
That video is so funny.
Anyway, Caleb Downs, dude, congrats on the Thorpe Award. Dude, just a great player. Which leads me
probably a top 5 pick.
Dude, yeah, which leads me straight into this. The first thing I want to mention in this game, the Ohio State-Miami game, is the personnel. The personnel on defense, especially on defense. The personnel on defense, I was looking through like draft grades. So I'm going to read you off a list of like the personnel that's going to be played in this game. So you've got Sony Styles, the inside linebacker for Ohio State, first round grade. Caleb Downs, safety for Ohio State, first round grade. Averill Reese, the other inside linebacker for Ohio State, first round grade. Caden Curry, edge, third round grade. Kanata Jackson, edge, third round grade. Defensive tackle Caden McDonald, second round grade. David Igbinosun, Ohio State quarterback, third round grade. Then you've got 2 first round edge grades on Miami and Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. And then you've got a nickel Keontae Scott, who's got a third round grade. And although some of the Muhammad Torre, who's the Miami leading tackler, he doesn't have a lot of draft buzz, but number one, dude, he flies around and makes a bunch of plays. So, dude, I'm just excited to watch this defensive personnel.
I think I think you just said like 85% of those first names wrong.
No,
I think you did.
no, I didn't. Which ones?
Definitely Kenyatta Jackson.
Okay, I said
I think
Kanata.
I think it's Arvell Reese. I
Oh,
think
I
it's
It is
spelled it
I think
wrong.
Reese.
I think it's Camden Curry,
Did I not say
Sonny
that?
Styles.
I said Sonny Styles.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't say Sonny. You said like Sonny. No, you didn't say you wasn't even Sonny. You said like we'll roll it back. It didn't. It wasn't Sonny.
Okay, but you guys get what
I'm
I'm saying.
sorry. It's just. I mean, you're a historically bad pronunciator.
The first
Names.
name, dude. The last names, I'm golden. Sagapolitelli. Who's got Sagapolitelli besides me?
You, you, that's true. It's mainly well,
It's first
no,
names.
because I feel.
Wait, which one?
Were you not calling Kelvin Jennings like Kevin Jenkins or something?
Kevin
That-
Jennings, and he said it was Kevin Jenkins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was not good either. That was not good. That was not
I'm
good.
sorry. Just go back to what you're saying, but
Nah, it was just the
I can't
defensive
wait to
personnel.
listen back to that.
Dude,
He
it's
also
what
said
is it? It's not
Connecting
Caden Curry. It's what
with-
I
Camden
think it's
Curry?
Camden Curry. It's definitely Kenyatta Jackson too.
It's not Kanata.
No,
Kenyatta.
and I think it's
Arvell.
definitely Arvell. Yeah.
It
Because
is
I-
Arvell Reese.
I spelled
know
it
that one's
Averill. I
Arvell
spelled
Reese.
it Averill. So I just spelled it wrong in the document. So that's on me. Just spelling wrong. Keontae Scott, though, I feel like I got that one right.
Yeah.
Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain. I feel like
There
I
you
got that right, yeah. But
Sorry, it's funny.
okay. Well, I'm glad Duska liked it. But yeah, good personnel for both these teams on defense, which is why I think it's gonna be a fun game to watch. And I think 9.5 might be too many points.
Yeah, speaking of, I'll go quick here because I got to run after this. But speaking of defense, like we obviously saw Miami's defense take over that game against A&M, and I want to go back now like a month now at the pace that these games are played. But the last time Ohio State played was in the Big Ten Championship against Indiana, who was the best defense they had seen up to that point. And in my opinion, Miami's defense is better than Indiana's, so they're going to now be the best defense that Ohio State has played at this point. Ohio State gave up 5 sacks in that game against Indiana, and that was almost the same amount of sacks they gave up the entire season. And then another big headline in this game is going to be Brian Hartline not calling plays for Ohio State. It's going to be Ryan Day. So we'll see how much more creativity there is in that offense. Maybe some screen slants, just different types of things that can open up a quick passing game to, neutralize that Miami pass rush. But
Do you think that's Ryan Day being like, I've seen like the Colin Klein experiment while like you're doing both duties of offensive coordinator and prepping to be a head coach, and like let me just call plays and like
100%.
yeah.
But I mean, that being said, like I agree with you, Charlie. I feel like for all these games, I'm a little confused on the lot, like the sheer number in each one being so big. Especially in a game like this.
Vegas must hate Carson Beck. Like they must have zero faith in him.
I just think that when you have a pass rush like Miami's and the explosive playmaking abilities of Fletcher and Tony, like you're gonna have chances to keep this game close. And I think they're going to, and I think they're going to cover, and this is going to be a really good game. I think Ohio State wins the game outright, but it's by like 4 or 5, not 10.
I also have them winning, but Miami covering. Sam, do you got to get out of here?
Yeah, I gotta finish packing and get to bed. So
Thank you, sir, for your
All right.
duty.
Travel safe, Sam. Have fun.
see you guys. Peace.
Yeah.
I'm
Really
gonna
quick
I'm gonna zag.
Okay.
I think that I think the spread is accurate, and this is one of the easier games to consider, and one of the more straightforward ones. I think, first of all, the NFL talent, like you mentioned before, and then when you flip it to the other side of the ball for Ohio State, it's an NFL QB, 3 NFL wide receivers, 3 NFL O linemen for
NFL
this
tight end.
draft cycle, NFL tight end, Bo Jackson, he's a true freshman, but he'll probably be an NFL running back. There's just, I think the talent, even though Miami has a lot of depth and they're constructed like an SEC team, I still think the depth of talent Ohio State has far outpaces Miami.
You know, the aggregate playmaking is a good point you make because when you look at the receiver room, it's like you got Marion and CJ Daniels who are like 30
Yeah,
catch
it's
guys
not the same.
that are behind their Malachi Tony. Like, dude, Ennis and Carnell Tate is just like a number one receiver. That's like a number two receiver for Ohio State. Max Clare, like, yeah, the aggregate playmaking is definitely in favor of Ohio State.
I think there's another huge advantage too. Ryan Day, I think
Dude,
one,
massive
him
advantage.
him taking over the play calling, I think it's a masterful move by him. I mean, I'm usually gonna generally trust the moves that Ryan Day is gonna make. I think he's built up enough credit for me that I believe that he's gonna operate the best way he can to put his team in the best position to win. And I think I've heard people talk about Ryan Day's play calling and how pretty that's people. I've heard Todd McShay say that's the best thing that he does as a coach is call plays. So I'm going to generally cede to believing that that's going to give them an advantage.
Because the other
And
play caller, Shannon Dawson, is somebody I believe in a little bit less, or just unproven to say the least. I think he does a good job, but he's not Ryan Day. You're right.
and then they also have now experienced what they need to do to be able to peak at the right time and be in the position that they need to be going into a playoff tournament so that they're able to produce on offense the way they were. They did it last year. They have proof of performance and proof of things that work that they can implement into their game plan and how they operate these next few weeks to set them up for the best position to win. And Mario Cristobal, in-game coaching decisions aside, they just haven't been in this spot yet where they needed to plan out how they're going to practice and all of the things you don't even think about, all the external factors that you don't even think about, how they're going to be able to operate for setting themselves up to be successful over the next month and a half. Ryan Day and that team has and that program have done that before. And then the other thing for me is the rushing factor. Ohio State has the fifth best rushing defense in the country compared to A&M, who was 40th this year. And that's a difference of about 50 yards per game. And that played a big factor in the Miami win. Even though they only scored 10 points, we talked about earlier, Carson Beck didn't really do anything in that game. He made a few okay throws, but there were some situations in the first half where they were in third and long where they looked completely out of sorts, completely disorganized, and they're going to be in a lot more situations like that in this game. And I don't think that Mark Fletcher and however dominant this offensive line is, I don't think they're going to be able to do the same thing that they were able to do against A&M, and that's going to be a major factor. And Ohio State has shown an ability to be versatile. If their run game's not working, they can throw it, and vice versa. And I just think that they're going to be able to put up points. I don't know if Miami, based off of how they played last game and based off of what we've seen from Beck and how he performs in some of these big moments and when a team's relying on him to make the right throw all the time, just look at the SMU game. Sometimes it's just not right
Or the
and they end
Louisville
up
game.
losing.
Or
Yeah, or
face.
the Louisville, yeah, exactly. Or the Louisville game. So I just think that there's a distinct advantage on a lot of fronts for Ohio State in that the game will most likely play out the way that it'll all of those advantages will be exploited and I can see I'm going to predict that Ohio State covers in this game.
Yeah, I don't really know how this like when I think about this game, I try and think of it like in a way to justify like a spread this high. And while I can, I think that Vegas has overinflated Ohio State to this point of the season based on their talent. And like I know that like I'm not putting a lot of stock into their loss in the Big Ten. That was it was an odd result, I think, for the way that game script like played out. But I think if you get them at about 90% of their full capability, they'll like handle Miami. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how Beck does versus Ohio State's defense. I think that's going to be the key to the game to me. Obviously, is going to be if he's forcing balls, if he's not seeing the field well, and he just is doing his like the problem is he's such a polarizing player. Like sometimes he looks like really efficient, really crisp, and then sometimes he looks like one of the worst quarterbacks you've ever seen. I think it's going to be tough for anybody to predict that, and it's basically going to be what happens in that game, obviously. But I think if Beck strings together an efficient game, and he can throw like one or two picks if he's as efficient the rest of the time, I think Miami could even win this game because we saw with the Indiana game, Ohio State basically outplayed them. I think, in my opinion, like for about the entire game, but they just had tough breaks and they ended up losing the game. So I'm going to say that I'm going to take Ohio State to win, but I'm going to take Miami to cover, just like Chuck and Sam are.
Yeah, one thing to get that's in your favor, Duska, and this is why I'm picking Ohio State, is they've shown the ability to get to their B+, A- game more than Miami's been able to get to that B+, A- game. Because that's where you got to play in these playoff games, right? To give yourself a chance to win in every game, you've got to get to that threshold, right? That's what you're trying to get to at least. And we've seen Ryan Day get to that. Another thing is, for as good as Corey Heatherman's been, this is going to be an offense that Miami has not seen yet. They have not seen the explosiveness that Ohio State has. But this might be the most physical defense and just most physical football team Ohio State's played all year, including Indiana. Maybe same type of level, but dude, Miami is physical as hell. They tackle hard, they block hard, and they want to get Mark Fletcher going downhill. Here's the thing. Indiana looked competent enough on offense to beat Ohio State with 118 rushing yards. So Mark Fletcher is not going to go for 7 a carry, but can he get to 3.5, 4 a carry? And then can you layer 240 passing yards and 2 touchdowns from Carson Beck with no turnovers? Or maybe a turnover if you get one as well, right? So even turnover battle. But that is the offense. That's the Shannon Dawson, Carson Beck challenge in this game is we got to get ourselves in manageable third downs. We've got to be efficient running the ball, which I think they can do. Ohio State does have a better run defense than Texas A&M, but even against Notre Dame, which is a good run defense, again, early in the year, early data point, Miami was able to run the football. And they do have a really good offensive line. And dude, they're gonna lean on Maui. All right, can you just say it for me so I don't fuck it up?
Francis Maui Noah.
Thank you. They're gonna lean on him. They're gonna lean on that interior O-line. They're gonna lean on Fletcher. Dude, and you just gotta get a better game from Carson Beck, who's a third-year starter. He's got 30+ games started. At some point, dude, you gotta put the game's gonna come down to his right arm. And that's Miami's game plan. Do you disagree with that at all? Or do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I like that. It's a quarter. The quarterback is, that's always the most important piece. So, it's in Beck.
Yes, we've seen it.
You also know what the bad sides could be. So it's hard for me to trust him even now after all the experience he's had and all the things he's done.
Dude, the Matt Patricia thing, Corey Heatherman and Matt Patricia are they're two of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Obviously, Ryan Day a lot better than Shannon Dawson. But dude, that's another guy that kind of scares me. Dude, if they don't get the offense right, and especially first 4 drives, if they're not running the football, if it's a lot of 3rd and 8, dude, Patricia's gonna dial that shit up. And he can make quarterback see ghosts really, really quickly, especially when you can just move a guy like Caleb Downs all around the football field. Dude, you've got edges. Dude, Curry has 11 sacks. 11. That's unbelievable. Dude, that's just like Cassius Howell. But at the same time, dude, Miami sees that and they say, you know what? We actually like our tackles. We like Markel Bell and Maui Noah. Roll the ball out.
Yeah. One thing about the IU game, Camden Curry was so Indiana has that's a specific weak spot of their offensive line is the right tackle spot, and that's where Curry rushes a lot, and then that's completely flipped on its head for this game. Yep. So I think the Miami pass pro in the A&M game was good. They had a few sacks, but nobody was really losing cleanly. It was kind of just blitzes where they
Which
got home.
which offensive line which offensive line unit do you like better? Do you like Indiana's or do you like Miami's better?
Oh, Miami far and away.
And dude,
Yeah.
Indiana got 118 on the
Especially
ground.
when you're talking about pass pro,
Yeah.
by far, Miami.
And do we like Roman Hemby or do we like Mark Fletcher better at running back?
I think I'd lean Fletcher.
Lean Fletcher.
Yeah.
So dude, it's not crazy to say like they can get
Yeah.
120 on the ground, which puts you in a spot to keep the game competitive as long as your quarterback isn't being egregious back there.
Yeah. No, I see the path for Miami.
Yeah.
I'm just not putting my eggs in the Carson Beck basket
Okay.
after what I've seen. Yeah.
You know what? And dude, not a bad
Yeah.
basket to take
Yeah.
the eggs out of. I mean, we haven't seen it a lot. We haven't seen it a lot.
But
Like,
I mean, I hope Beck plays the best game of his career, and this is just a slugfest.
yeah,
That's what we want to see.
that is what we want to see. Archer, do you have anything to add in this game, or should we move on?
No, that's basically what I was going to say. I don't want to put stock in Beck, but I think he's going to come out and play good enough for them to win the game.
Well, if they get that, that's literally all they can ask for because.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, editor. Next game. We've got Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon's a 1.5-point favorite. And this game is at noon on ESPN. It's the Orange Bowl. So this is being played in Miami.
Yeah.
Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we got Hard Rock Stadium.
Insane travel for Oregon. It's literally.
Yeah, 9 a.m. local body clock kick for them. I wonder what time they get there, though. I'm sure they get there a couple days early to kind of
definitely. I mean, that's what. It's not like it's not big travel for Texas Tech as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think this is the game where the QB discrepancy is the biggest, in my opinion. Dude, you got Baron Morton, who. Dude, everybody's heard my take on Baron Morton. I think he's average, like above average to average. Like, I don't see him as a spectacular quarterback. I think they rely a lot on Dickey and their other back, and they have a ton of really good, they have a ton of B plus playmakers with 600 to 800 receiving yards, like Virgil and Coy Eakin. That's how they win football games, as well as just a really good defense. Dude, Dante Moore is like a legit NFL prospect who. When he doesn't have a run game, which he never doesn't because they run the rock. The Oregon Ducks run the rock, and they're going to again. And they've got 4 running backs that do it. But even if he was to not have a run game or it's wet or whatever, dude, Dante Moore is a playmaker. He's a really good quarterback. If he came out this year, he'd have an argument to be a top 10 pick. He's probably going to stay just because of the amount of money you can make now in college. But, dude, this is where the quarterback discrepancy is just a little bit too much for how close the spread is, because if you look at the other components of the football team, you've got similar defenses, similar running back run game. And dude, again, Oregon plays in a tougher conference. So I would honestly lean a little bit towards them in the running game. And then your quarterbacks are a lot different. So where is this? Again, they might just really believe in the aggregate playmaking of Texas Tech. Because, dude, they've got, Caleb Douglas has 846 yards. Reggie Virgil, 676. Coy Eakin, 626. Terrence Carter Jr., their tight end, 552. So, and even Jacoby Williams, who's their second leading rusher, he's got almost 400 yards through the air. So, again, they can spread the rock around, but can you spread the rock around against an Oregon defense that's really good?
Yeah, for this game for me was a more questionable point spread, I think, than the Miami Ohio State game. 2.5 seemed really, really tight. I thought it would be more
it's
around
1.5
Oregon.
now.
Yeah, okay, even tighter. I thought it was going to be like an Oregon 4.5, 5.5.
That's exactly what I figured.
And I think a big part of that is the quarterback matchup. And all of that aside, I am so excited for this game because it might be the game I'm most excited for to watch one offensive line in particular against one defensive line / front seven in particular all year. And it's the Oregon offensive line versus Texas Tech's front seven. And I'll just rattle off the names that you're going to see in this matchup, and you're going to hear a lot of these names all day. Jacob Rodriguez, far and away best defensive player on Texas Tech. Well, David Bailey has an argument, but everyone's heard of Jacob Rodriguez this year and what he's been able to do. It's David Bailey who has 13 and a half sacks. Ben Roberts, their other linebacker, and then A.J. Holmes is a really good defensive tackle for them.
Can I add one
And
more
then,
name?
yeah.
Dude, Cole Wisniewski, number 5.
Oh,
the
yeah,
North
absolutely.
Dakota, the North Dakota State transfer
Yes.
guy plays football at safety.
Absolutely. And then the Oregon offensive line, Isaiah World, Emmanuel Pregnon, Alex Harkey, Dave Iuli, and Ipani Lelulu. That one's probably wrong, but great offensive line. They were Joe Moore finalists. They run the absolute piss out of the football, and they've been doing it all year. This is best on best. This is exactly why I'm glad one of the benefits of the college football playoff is you get matchups like this. And this Texas Tech front seven has a legit argument to call themselves the best front seven in all of college football. And I just can't wait for this.
Oregon has 4 running backs over 6 yards a carry. 4.
And I think the game is going to hinge on this more than anything. And I'm leaning towards Oregon because I don't think Texas Tech has played a front like this Oregon one. And I don't think they played against tailbacks the quality that Oregon has. And they also have a depth factor too. You get done with Whittington and then De'Aaron Hill comes in the game, or Jordan Davison. There's depth at that tailback position, and they all bring a little something different to the table. Not to mention the fact you're playing against NFL bodies on their offensive line. They might have 4 NFL guards on their O-line, starting O-line. And I say that because they have a right tackle, Alex Harkey, who I project is more of a guard. And that just brings me into the one matchup I wanted to highlight in particular. And I think that Texas Tech could find an advantage in this game if they're able to exploit this as much as they can. It's David Bailey rushing the passer against Alex Harkey, who is the starting right tackle for Oregon. Like I said, I think Harkey's more of a guard. And the reason for that is he has tackle size, but he's shown a bit of a tendency to get edged a little bit by pass rushers in games where they played more premier pass rushers. If you go back to like the Penn State game, a lot of the denied Dennis Sutton reps against him, and other games not popping off the top of my head. In the Indiana game, they struggled to pass protect in general against that team. But point being, Alex Harkey, he's definitely a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. And there's going to be some reps against David Bailey there where they can really press an advantage there. And if Bailey's able to generate pressure, then all the advantage that Oregon has in other spots like quarterback, and I think they'll have an advantage running the ball, those all go away. And the game, he can kind of take the game over in that sense. So I'm really, really excited to watch that matchup. But I just think that the Oregon offense ultimately is going to be too multiple for Texas Tech to be able to stop. And we've seen in games where Oregon's running it really well. Like the USC game, Oregon was running it really well. And then when USC's defense committed more to stopping the run, that's when they can just extend the run game to the perimeter, swing it out with screens and stuff like that, or just attack you vertically because they have really good vertical receivers, including their tight end, Kenyon Sadiq. So I think there's so much depth at the disposal of Oregon that I think it's going to be tough for Texas Tech to overcome, and I don't think they played a team to this quality yet. And ultimately, also, I'm just a Dan Lanning guy and expect him to have this team ready to go with a chip on their shoulder after the way they went out last season. So I think Oregon covers. I think this game, of all the games, has the most variance in how it could play out, including Oregon blowouts against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all obviously cover that. I think Dusty did a very good. My thing, like Chuck also said with Morton, I think Chuck's right on that. Like the clear discrepancy in quarterback, and also I think in talent in this entire game is going to be in the quarterbacks. I haven't been a big believer in Dante Moore all year, but he's proven me wrong. And Morton has kind of proved us right as this average game manager style of quarterback that he was benefiting a lot on the national stage in these big games from his receivers like Caleb Douglas making huge catches. Like especially the Utah game, which is one that comes to mind when he played. He played like they should have lost the game if it wasn't for these insane receivers making time after time and then getting hurt. But when I look at this, I think like from at least my perspective, I think I've watched the least amount of Oregon from y'all too, and I know that Oregon is very good, but I think Texas Tech is on their defensive line, at least in their defense, they're a legit unit, obviously, like y'all have said, and I think that they have the capability to not win a football game by themselves because I don't think they have like the turnover style like Oklahoma's had with like defensive scores all year. But I think they have enough to keep them in it and then allow Texas Tech's offensive playmakers to shine. I think it's a little surprising that y'all said with the spread being so low in such a game where there's two different like talent profiles almost, like two different blue chip ratios, like Oregon that uses portal and also high school, Texas Tech that had a huge portal class just now. But it's like when you see the talent gaps on these teams, it's kind of surprising to see this spread in like basically like a 2.5, basically almost at a pick 'em at some sites too. So I'm gonna lean Texas Tech in this game. I just think that I don't know why. I think that the coaching, I think everything that Oregon has is an advantage. Like their coaching, I think, is better for Oregon. I think their fronts are better. I think their playmakers are better. But I just feel like Texas Tech has had like they've just been playing well all year. And they've been I don't know. I feel like I've doubted them all year, and they've just kept proving me wrong as like as a legit team and a legit contender. And I'm gonna bank on Oregon kind of falling to the level when they have like a big competition because we haven't really seen Oregon in these like high. The only team they played that was really good this year was Indiana, obviously, and they lost. So I'm gonna use that as my reasoning, and I'm gonna be taking Texas Tech.
Also,
but I'm not very confident at all.
Just a feel. Sometimes you just got a feeling. Also, another cool thing, the only 100 tackle players left in this tournament is obviously Jacob Rodriguez, who Duska mentioned, but Bryce Betcher, the baseball player, also linebacker for Oregon, has 113 tackles. So these are the last 100 tackle guys you will see in this tournament, which is I think is really cool because anytime you just have 100 tackles, like you're everywhere, you're all around the football. Most of these teams, like even CJ Allen, who I think is really good, the Georgia linebacker, he's got like 83, 85, something like that. So, dude, these guys are pivotal to the defenses. Also, I mentioned Wisniewski, the safety, the North Dakota transfer and Texas Tech, but the Purdue transfer, Dylan Thieneman, is just as good, if not better, and is just such a playmaker. He was the guy that had the Drew Aller pick for Oregon. So, dude, Oregon does not lack any playmakers too. So that's the thing. I do think Texas Tech is a real football team. They are. They're just a really good football team. The playmaking that you talked about, Archer, and how they have just so much aggregate playmaking is a huge advantage. Not an advantage, but just a huge reason for their success because they are a little bit more limited at quarterback than some of these other great elite teams. I just think it's Oregon because Dan Lanning, NFL quarterback. I really like Sadiq. I mean, dude, if you see what that guy does in the run game, he is unbelievable. And then he's just a freak athlete in space, makes catches. I mean, he is such a good football player, you know. So, dude, if they can get him matched up on linebackers, like, dude, Ben Roberts is awesome, but is Ben Roberts awesome at covering Kenyon Sadiq? No. So, that's a huge matchup advantage I'd like to see. I also want to just shout out my Polynesian edge rushers for the Oregon Ducks. So, Dusky, you're going to laugh at me because these names are just about to be
I can't pronounce them either. It's fine.
Completely butchered. But Tatum Tuioti, he's got 7.5 sacks. He's their third leading tackler at edge for the Ducks. And then, which is pretty cool that he's an edge rusher with the third in tackles. That usually doesn't happen. Like he's around the football. And then you've also got DJU's brother, Mateo Uyangalele. So Uyangale, just one lay. Yeah, he's got 5 sacks. He's a gamer. Both NFL edges. Love my Polynesian players. So that's just another matchup to look forward to because Texas Tech has not seen these edges in Big 12 play. They have not. So yeah, we're gonna see what's going on in this game, but excited to watch this game as well because dude, Texas Tech, they deserve to get a shot. Dude, how many people, your average college football fan, have watched Texas Tech? Like maybe the BYU Big 12 championship game. So a lot of people haven't
Yeah.
grinded.
Or the BYU game day game.
It's
You've
a
just
lot
seen
of
Texas Tech versus BYU.
you've literally seen them play BYU. So not everybody's as tapped into us as our profession. So, but yeah, excited for this game. Okay, I want to hit one more thing before we get out of here. There's been a lot of discussion about the group of five being included in this playoff. And obviously, dude, the scores, you see the scores, it's not good. But I do think it's a logical fallacy to say like they got beat by X amount of points. Like that's why they shouldn't deserve to be here. Because Michigan State got blown out in the playoff years ago by Alabama. And that doesn't mean they didn't deserve to be here. The point is the wording in the legislation that says the top five conference championships should be in the playoff is like just wrong and probably shouldn't be worded that way. And it should probably be, I don't think the G5 should be extinguished from the playoff forever. I just think you have to be a top 12 team in the G5. Like even think about Cincinnati. They earned their way into that playoff by being a 13-0 group of five team, right? And UCF didn't get in because there was four teams better than them, but Cincinnati earned that spot in that year. And people talk about this all the time. The group of fives, it's just different now. Like, dude, even Cincinnati, that seems like that was 5 years ago. Dude, you're not going to see Cincinnati's anymore. Cincinnati had a lot of NFL players. They had an NFL quarterback. Arch watched way too much of him. Desmond Ritter. They had Alec Pierce. They had that running back Ford who went to the NFL. Pace, who's on the Vikings. I don't know his first name, but dude, he's a Bolton number 0. So, dude, they had NFL dudes that would not have been
Sauce
there.
Gardner.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. First round pick, Sauce Gardner. So, dude, these guys would not have been at the University of Cincinnati had the portal and NIL been so infused into the sport, right? Like Sauce Gardner Auburn or Florida would have paid him $1 million and he wouldn't have played for the University of Cincinnati. So, like, it just doesn't exist like that anymore. And I don't think they should be just eliminated. But when it goes to just the 12 best teams in the country, you can earn your way in. But like 10-2 Tulane, like, will never sniff that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the whole, if you are the actual, like, there shouldn't be a guarantee because when people talk about like, oh, you just want to be an invitational, it's technically an invitational when you're extending an invite to the fifth conference champion. Like that's technically more of an invitational than saying the G5 shouldn't have a spot. Also, I just think the average college football, like the college football media like discourse over this has been like the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, in my opinion. Because people think that you hate the sport if you don't want a G5 team. No, I love the sport so much that I think this is horrible for it. I think it's horrible for G5 schools in general. I think that the ideal model, in my opinion, would having a G5 playoff, but a G5 team that is in the top 12 could opt into the actual playoff instead of like that. And I think that gives you the opportunity to have both a team that has merit to play and to compete for national championship, and then play in a G5 style tournament that like shows you're the best G5. But the problem is whenever you suggest that, people think you're literally like the Antichrist, and you hate like college football. And I think it's the dumbest thing ever because they're purposely misunderstanding what you're saying so they can like try and use that as their point. And I don't know. But all I know is the answer is not what is doing it right now. Because like I literally did not watch the JMU game. I literally did not watch the Tulane game. And like I was fine with it. Like, and that shouldn't happen in a playoff. Like there should only be 2 legit games in a 4 games like season or in a 4-game weekend. And that's my take. But
I mean I'm aligned with you too. I think I like the idea that there's a possibility for G5 teams to get into the playoff. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying I love all levels of college football. I love FCS football. I think D2 football is so cool. D3 football, I haven't watched as much of that, but I mean, those guys
Shout out
put
James
their
Mills,
body on the line.
Carnegie
They
Mellon.
put their body on the line for no scholarship money. And how could you not respect that? So I'm prefacing this by saying I love all levels of college football. And if you told me that for the rest of my life, I couldn't watch any college football games that weren't MAC football games, and I was stuck with those 13 teams for the rest of my life, I would still try to podcast about it if I could. But the fact that two G5 teams were in this playoff it's a complete and utter failure of the whole system of the 12-team playoff. And this is what happens when a sport that's so steeped in tradition and so sacred to so many people, when you put it in the hands of people that don't have the best intentions for the longevity and future of the sport and maintaining that tradition and the sacredness of it, when that's not your priority and your priority is to make money and you rush into a system that is certainly not refined enough to give you the best outcomes every year. Like last year, the teams that got the buys in that playoff, and you could argue that the field was stronger last year.
But Boise State and Arizona State had no
But
business.
yeah, but Boise State and Arizona State got buys, and every team that got a first round bye lost their first game. And there's so many flaws, and I think this is just another piece of a flawed system that you can point out that just goes to show how unprepared and the failed thought process of people in charge of the sport that don't really care about the tradition and how sacred it is. They really just care about having an inventory of playoff games that they can market and trying to make as much money as they can. And I live in the real world. I know that's always going to be a part of any type of sport where you can sell money, where you can sell advertisements for money. And I mean, that's just how the world works. And the schools have to be funded, and they have to be able to receive money from the things they're doing. And the college football playoff, it's probably a net positive for these schools in that respect. But there's also, I mean, look at Notre Dame now. I mean, even just the thinking of about that program, like it's embarrassing that they opted out of their bowl game and everyone was upset with that.
We just
And
lost
it's embarrassing.
the USC rivalry.
Yeah, we lost the
gone.
Notre Dame USC rivalry just so Notre Dame can make this 12-team field, because I mean, they're a whole separate issue because they're not in a conference and they know that if they win 11 games, they're going to make the playoff field. But that's just, I mean, that's another thing you can point at and be like, this system is flawed. It's got the goals of the decision makers and how they align themselves in pursuit of those goals will always be flawed because the goals themselves are flawed. So there's a lot of things you can point at now about how the game and the playoff is set up, and it's going to continue to go down this path as long as the people in charge of the sport are not really worried about the sport itself. They're worried about selling advertisements and having an inventory of games where they can sell advertisements for it. So I mean, this is just, I think this issue isn't even that big of an issue. I think, yeah, sure, we'll make it so that the top 12 teams are the ones that make the playoffs. There's no more automatic qualifiers. We start a G5 playoff. Those are all things that I think would help the system itself and help the format of the college football playoff. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter because decisions will continue to be made to service the goals of making money as opposed to service the goals of having a healthy and a healthy sport that can last a long time with the way it's currently structured. So I think those games were embarrassing, and it's really dumb ultimately that those two teams made the field when you think about some of the games that you could have had. And I mean, it just is what it is. The system is what it is. Yeah, there's nothing that you can do now to reverse all of the things you've done. So all you can really do is just keep fine tuning it, and we'll eventually have something that's probably gonna yield the best games, and that's going to be a positive. But the path that we're going down now, it's all of these things that are happening, including this happening, is just a sign of a flawed system, and it's run by the wrong people. So
I think that was super well said, Duska. I'm going to kind of put a bow on this and add to your points. The first thing is I will forever be a 4-team truther. I think the 4-team was the very best way of doing the playoff. I think it placed maximum importance on the regular season, which is what makes college football not like the NFL. The NFL, it's all about getting into the tournament and then playing and to go to the Super Bowl. But in college football, historically, it's about just playing for school pride and try to be as the very best you can. And then if you are earn your way into a very select field, you can play for a national championship. But a lot of times it's 7-6 Arkansas playing 8-4 Georgia. And like, you know why it matters? Because it matters. Because like that game, the football game is important to the alumni, the football players, the football alumni, the students, the faculty. Like it's just a big deal because it is. It's like a high school football. It's like a high school football game. The whole community comes out because like, dude, they want to support the community and like they care about this. Right. And that's like that's what college football, that's what originally drew me to the sport. I just loved it. And dude, again, another point that like this is the reason Saban got out of the gig is, dude, it's about player development, not to be an NFL player, to be a human and like to be a dad and to be like a good a good person to inject into society and be a leader and grow and mature and we've all played college football, the FCS level, right? And dude, never in my life did I have a chance of playing in the NFL, but dude, I got to grow a lot as a human being through the experience of playing college football, and I got to be around a lot of other young men and old men who are mentoring you to push you to be the very best version of yourself. And like that's the cool part about college football because most of these guys aren't going to make a living playing college football. So that's why, like, I just think we kind of lose that perspective sometimes in college football. Like, dude, at some point, I love the oil in St. Paul, Minnesota, and you put it in the top of the Mississippi River, and then at some point it drips down to like if you put poison in in Minnesota, at some point it'll exit in New Orleans, and some kid in New Orleans will drink it and die. And that's kind of where we're at right now with college football. Like, dude, my aunt and my uncle who love college football, like, dude, it sucks when you get to see a quarterback. Like, dude, they're Penn State fans, and they're like, Grunkemeyer, like, he's not gonna they really liked Grunkemeyer coming in and like playing well. And like, dude, you're probably not going to see that kid anymore. Like, sadly, like it's sad that like you're just not going to like get a kid from high school and like he just develops and you watch him kind of grow. Like, dude, the Quinn Ewers are few and far in between. A lot of the times it's mercenaries. Like, dude, even like Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, they all transfer from other schools. Like, um, even hey, Dante Moore did too, right?
Dante Moore started at UCLA.
Yes. So, dude, yeah, Dante Moore, like freshman year at UCLA. So, dude, like Fernando Mendoza, Cal, like, and I'm not saying it's like the ugliest thing, but dude, at some point, like, dude, you lose fan appetite, which is what brings me to like the next point, dude. Bo Horvath, the Navy quarterback, said something this week. He was like, I think it's funny how teams use the term brotherhood, but they get 30 new portal kids every year. Like, dude, we're an actual brotherhood where like you come in as a freshman, you develop to your senior year, and like you're the only team you got. So like, dude, as a Navy fan, like bringing this back to the G5, like, dude, we don't deserve to play. The Navy should never touch the playoff. Like, we're just not that caliber of athlete to go play Oregon. But like, dude, that's why college football is great because like I still care. Like, I can't wait for us to play Cincinnati on January 2nd and like try to go get 11 wins. And like we beat Army this year, and we were 7-1 in the AAC, and we didn't get in the AAC tournament because like for the right reason. Like, dude, the AAC got it right. The ACC didn't. The AAC said, "Hey, the top if it's a tie, if there's 3 7-1 teams, the two highest ranked teams, if there's no head to head, are going." And the ACC said, "We're just going to add up your wins of the wins of the teams you beat," and like just a joke. But like, I think it's fun being a Navy fan and or being a G5 fan. Like, we don't care about the playoff. Like, that's not the goal of the season. And yeah, it's nice. It's like refreshing. Like that's like my outlook as a fan. But for most like fans, like that's really just not what it is. Like, there's Oklahoma fans that are gonna scream about Venable's job because he didn't win a playoff game. But it's like, dude, he beat a lot of teams that they were they beat Tennessee. Like, does that not matter?
I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Arch, but I know that I know I've seen how important Georgia football is to you and to other people. And you went to the Georgia versus Marshall game this year. Like, I want your perspective on like if there was no like carrot dangled in front of your face, like if there was no 12-team field, potential national championship, blah blah blah. Like, say Georgia was just competing for the SEC every year, like that wouldn't change your level of passion or level of interest for the team. And I think that's an
No.
important point too, because the the fan bases of the schools that are in the playoff, even those fans, they were fine with the format how it was when it was a 4 team or when it was the BCS or when the newspapers voted for who the national champion was. They didn't care necessarily about what it was that they were playing for. They just cared that their team was playing and they wanted to root on their team and be a part of their community. I mean, you can speak to that more, Arch, but that's what it seems like the passionate fan perspective it will always be. And it doesn't really matter what the end result that the team is playing for is.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the whole thing I said whenever the 12th team just got like announced. It was like, cool. Like, I think that basically just guarantees Georgia's never going to miss it. And like, they didn't really change because like I still like that. I came on here like a month ago and people were saying why. I think it was probably a month ago. Whenever it was like the whole SEC, does Georgia want to go to the SEC championship? I was like, yeah, I think so. Like, because I think winning an SEC championship still means something. And like, if we won the SEC championship like we did last year and we lost it, like we lost to Notre Dame, I still wasn't like mad at the season. That's like in like that's what like Kirby's been touching on. I remember he was like, "Does anybody care about things like this?" And like you should. And the fact that the people don't, then they try and say that the players don't. But it really is the media people telling the players that they shouldn't. Like such a ridiculous concept to me because I still think they're like when I go to watch the Marshall Georgia versus Marshall, I don't think can this team win a national. Like I obviously think that in the back of my head. My main reason for going there isn't is Georgia going to win the national title? Is Georgia going to win this game? And obviously they probably will, but like they probably will like when they're playing Marshall, like they'll win that game obviously. But it's like I don't. It's not the playoff is not the end all be all like some people have made it out to be. So.
And
Exactly. And the other thing is like it's hard to win. Like one team wins a national title a year and it's a 12-team field where at minimum you have to win 3 games. Like that's not easy to do. You can be the best team all year and still go up against another good team and lose. Like national championship or bust will always be silly because there's 130 teams. Like there's like Temple will never win a national championship, but should they just stop playing because it's not going to happen? Like I just it's always just been a stupid
also, Dusk, a question.
viewpoint of the sport to me.
Question. How many, we both played 5 years of college football. How many times did we win 8 games in our lives?
One
In college?
time.
Once. One time we won 8
And
games.
I'll never not talk about that. I mean, that was the best football team I've ever been on. I'll never not talk about being on that team. And we only won 8 games and we lost in the first round of the FCS playoffs, but I mean, it was still a
You
successful
win 8
season.
games, that's like a
Yeah.
huge year. Like it's so hard to win 8 football games. So like that used to like be like, oh yeah, you win. Now it's like the benchmark's like 10. It's like, how many 10-win seasons do you have? And it's like, I get it. And we all use it as like a talking point because we're talking about the playoff and that's where like the media wants the attention to go to. That's where they can market it and that's where they can just suck money out of the sport. But winning 8 games is not like is no slouch. Like especially in the SEC. Like dude, Tennessee, they weren't as good this year. Dude, they had some bad turmoil when losing their starting quarterback in after spring ball. Like that never happens ever. Like dude, that scenario happening, it's like what? You went into a contract negotiation like you're literally an NFL player and like they
Sign of
cut
the
you.
times.
Like that's the thing. It's like, but they won 8 games and it's like, dude, obviously Tennessee like wants to be in the playoff and shit, but gosh, like I don't know. For me, I'm not like, oh yeah, Tennessee, like what a joke of a year. It's like, I mean, Tennessee
The resilience
Tennessee's
of
pretty
losing
good.
your starting QB in the spring and then winning 8 games that fall, like that's probably we probably don't talk about that enough. That's
No,
that's
like, those
insanely
guys,
impressive.
and I'm sure they do. I'm sure, like intrinsically, like if you're a Tennessee volunteer football player, you're like, dude, good on us this year. Like, dude, we didn't go to the SEC championship, but like played Georgia really tough. We took them to the brink. Like, we were in games with Alabama till we threw that pick six. Like, dude, there was things that like didn't go our way, but we won 8 games in the Hearts Conference in the sport. So,
Mhm.
even Penn State, dude, like they have something to be excited about. Like they didn't roll over and die. Like their
I'm excited
backup
to
quarter.
go watch them play tomorrow. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
like
fun
dude,
game.
yeah, you're going to that game. Tell us why you're excited.
Pinstripe Bowl. I mean, it's just anytime you have an opportunity to watch Clemson play Penn State, no matter what state the programs are in, I think it's still. I mean, I'm getting up for that. It's pretty. That alone is propelling me there, and I'm very excited. I'm going to Yankee Stadium. I've always wanted to watch a baseball game there, but I'll still get to experience what that's like, see what it's like, and it's unique because it has a football field on the baseball stadium, which
Dude.
I mean that's pretty cool to me. I don't know. I just think that it's not that it's meaningful. It's for the players who had like both teams had a lot of expectations and ended up having a tough year. And being able to hang your hat on, oh, we won the Pinstripe Bowl, that's a big deal for the players. And if you're approaching the sport the right way, it's a big deal for the fan bases as well. And Penn State fans, like if you win the Pinstripe Bowl tomorrow against Clemson, you should appreciate that. And the season didn't go how you expected. You lost your head coach, but the future could be bright, and you get to have a chance to send your seniors off the right way and have something to hang your hat on when you look back at the 2025 season and all the adversity of it and how the team responded
Yeah.
with Terry Smith. And he loves Joe Paterno, and it's just, I don't know. I'm excited for the game.
Yeah.
I love college football, and I think it's going to be a really fun experience.
Yeah. So, dude, the Hawaii Bowl happened. The Hawaii versus Cal game.
A Sheraton Hawaii Bowl?
Dude, it was an awesome game. Alejado, dude, two lefty QBs just doing out. I liked watching it. But dude, so back in I think 1997, my dad's sophomore year at Navy, they played in the Aloha Bowl versus Cal and beat them. And that was back when like the Aloha, like their bowl, there wasn't that many bowl games. So, like it was like an 8-win Navy team, and it was the Tony Gonzalez Cal team, and they hang 48 on them and like beat them. And the reason I know about this is because every time the Hawaii Bowl's on, my dad was like, it used to be called the Aloha Bowl. He's like, yeah, like dude, my dad and his buddies bring it up every time they can.
Nah.
It meant something to them. Like they were out in Hawaii, they like partied with Tony G, and they were like talking shit to him before the game, and like it was just like in the bars, like. And I just think like that's like the thing about college football that's like amazing. Like that meant something to them now, like then, and like it'll mean something forever until like all those Navy players are dead, rolling in their graves. And like, that's what's cool about it. Also, I wanted to bring up one more thing because we cover all levels of college football. My buddy Cole Keelan, he's the quarterback at Division II Harding. They ended up losing to Ferris State in the national championship, the D2 national championship. But he is the all-time winningest quarterback in Division II history. Wow. He has 51 wins as a starter for a Harding. So, dude, shout out
to Cole Keelan.
Yeah, shout out Keelan.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, so sick.
So is Ferris
Pine Richland?
Yeah, so he was Pine Richland, and then he was there from like 4th to 6th grade, and we were boys. And then his dad, he worked for Walmart and ended up getting a job as a PE teacher and a high school football coach in Arkansas. And so they moved down there. And so Cole played like high school football in Arkansas, but we've stayed friends ever since because we were friends in like upper elementary school. So
yeah, I figured because I saw that Harding is in Arkansas, and I was a little confused how a guy in Pennsylvania was on the radar of
he was a hometown Arkansas kid too.
Yeah, respect.
So Ferris won back-to-back D2 national championships.
And you see their quarterback?
They won by like 30.
Yeah. Their quarterback's amazing.
Maybe that guy should go to Texas A&M.
Dude, he's going to get poached. He's got a brother, too, that plays receiver, and they literally just, like, bomb.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Ferris State.
Ferris State is so good. Unbelievable.
Also, shout out to Illinois State. Very unheralded FCS team making the championship game. I went to the FCS semifinal against Villanova last week, and it was a splattering. Their quarterback is also really good. He's very undersized, but he's a ball player, number 16.
We'd also like to mention friend of a program, Duska, help me out with his last name, but the place kicker for Illinois State.
Oh, Mike Constantino?
Dude, a former teammate of all of ours. So, yeah, shout out Mike Constantino, the kicker for Illinois State, who transferred from Elon to Illinois State, and he's balling for them.
Yeah, he's playing in I also like that the FCS Natties in Nashville. I think that's going to be cool.
Great change up.
Great town.
Yeah.
Somewhat corporatized, but it's fine because Nashville's just a cool place in general. So.
Well, would you rather go to like where is it?
Frisco,
Texas, or would you rather go to Nashville?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's why I'm for it. But in general, I'm generally against corporatization of games, like the Army Navy game going to
Mercedes-Benz.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah. This is a random thing because I was trying to find that line for the FCS title because I assume Montana State will be like a 20-point favorite.
I think they're only like 10-point favorites.
It's pretty cool.
Montana State's gross.
Yeah. Georgia is on Georgia. If they play Ohio State, it says they're going to be a 5.5-point underdog on FanDuel.
They love Ohio State,
which is kind of crazy to me. But
I would think that would be a little tighter than 5.5. I think Ohio State would be favored, but I would have thought
I was
it would
thinking
have
like
been
3,
2.5 to 3. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing for Illinois State, though. Not often, like I know the FCS playoff. Like obviously with us, like you want to make it, but if you just make it just to get smacked, like they probably were thinking, like they're probably going in there like we'll probably just get smacked by. I think they played like Southeastern Louisiana. They're probably just like, oh, we're gonna get smacked and then go home after, and then you just win, and then you win again, and then you go to Fargo and you win.
Yeah,
and then you beat
insane.
And
they're playing on the road too, because
the
way the FCS playoffs work is the schools bid on the home games. So it's all home games up until the national championship. So Illinois State just didn't put as much money up as all the other schools they played against. So I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they played all road games in this playoff.
Yeah, they have their equipment truck posted because they went Southeastern Louisiana to UC Davis, back to Illinois, to Fargo, back to Illinois, to Pennsylvania,
Villanova,
back to Illinois, and now they're going to go down to Nashville.
That's sick. Good on them, dude. That's so cool.
Just road dogs getting after it.
Yeah.
Still playing football, which is like, wow, holy shit. That's what I can't imagine. It's like, bro, these kids like
that play. We literally finished a month ago.
Dude, at Power 4 schools, like, dude, they still have like Tuesday, like padded practice. Like, and they got them till like January 20th if you make the natty. Like that's like a month.
Yeah.
So they play 2 more months of football than I do, which is just crazy. Yeah. And then like, dude, they got spring ball in March. So let's get it, fellas. But all right, guys, we have overstayed our welcome like always, but it's just always so much fun to talk.
That was
ball
good
with you
ball
guys.
talk.
Yeah. So I'll have this cut up for you guys. We'll have this cut up on Spotify and YouTube, the full clip, and then we'll have YouTube clips segmented throughout the show, and then hopefully we'll have our TikTok account and Instagram account running, pumping out short
got our new
content.
intern.
So we do have our new intern. So
and then we'll have the other 2 previews out.
Yep.
Sometime before those.
Yeah, we're gonna do another show before the preview games or before the quarterfinal games.
Yeah.
But Merry Christmas to the Forward Pass fans. Merry Christmas to you guys. Always love you. Always love coming on here. Love you, fellas. And we will see you in a couple of days.